One day, today I met a man while walking on my way. As he greeted me, he told me about his day. He told me he had seen so many things and that he couldn't understand all that life brings. He said he was married and had two children and not three, but of the two children, neither of them could see. He said that they were not blinded as the world might think, but he could not understand. He never even blinked. He had not blinked when it came to their lives, but he could not understand their bitterness and their lies. He said he took them to church as he should, but he did not understand. Maybe he misunderstood. Maybe he misunderstood what they needed from him. He had given them everything, yet his life was dim. He had given them the items they had asked for, but he couldn't understand. They seemed to demand more. He tried to give them the best of everything, but somehow they gave him hell, or so it seemed. They were always fighting amongst each other. To see them now, they didn't even act like brothers. School seemed to call at least once a week, never anything good, and he wondered what they did seek. He said he had tried everything that he knew, but somehow the problem it just grew. They were now almost grown, headed down the wrong path. He didn't know what to do or how long it would last. He said he had been sitting on the same bench all day. He just didn't have an answer, nor know what to say. It seemed he knew he had to make a change, but he wasn't sure how or what to rearrange. He had tried counseling, but this did not work. Maybe it was him, and he hadn't been alert. For he had worked long hours all of the time to provide for their needs. He had them in mind. Maybe the material items were not what was best, and he wondered if he had failed the father's test. As I listened to him and all that he had to say, I began to silently talk to God and to pray, praying that I could speak the right words, praying that he would listen and that they would be heard. When he finished talking, he apologized to me, saying he was sorry and just to let him be. I said to him as I looked in his eyes, "It's okay. God sent me." Then he realized there was a light upon me he had not noticed until he looked at me. He asked me about the light that was in my face, why it appeared to radiate so much grace. I told him I did not control the light. It was my master, the one who ignites. I told him the light came from the problems I had, and because of the light, I had no need to be sad. I told him that I understood his pain, but it was my God who would enable him to sustain him in the midst of what he was going through, and allow him the strength to be renewed. But in order for his pain not to be so great, he would have to meet my master, for he could relate. He asked all kinds of questions about my father that day, and we later joined hands and began to pray. I prayed that God would carry him through and show him the necessary things to do. I prayed that God would open his eyes, allowing him to see and the heart to realize that he was not alone. He needed my master who sits on the throne. I prayed for salvation of his soul, then he would be able to do the Father's role. I told him Jesus was God's Son and how Jesus died for everyone. I told him how God gave his only Son, the greatest gift of all, for everyone. I told him God loves him so much, but he would need to seek him and his touch. And as we talked a while, the time went by, but the seed had been planted, I could not deny. He said he wanted to do exactly what I had done, for he wanted the light and not to be alone. I told him he would have to accept Jesus Christ, and accepting him would require giving him his life. Giving of his life to a God that was bold enough to care for each of our souls. He would have to believe God gave his Son and that he died for everyone. I told him God would accept him as he was, and he would love him merely just because he was his Son, and because he loved everyone. As he sat and thought about the options he had, he looked at me and was no longer sad. His eyes and heart were open at this time, for now God had total control of his mind. One day,